and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, especially to all of you from Glenwood, Glenwood, Three Oaks, Salem and Strawbridge Elementary Schools. It's wonderful to have you with us. This is Safari Life.
Ready.
Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Very windy, ominous afternoon here, and we're talking to you live from South Africa. Now that's at the southern tip of the African continent, and this little piece of the drive, of course, is dedicated to you, the kids of those four, which I remembered and now have subsequently forgotten, and it'll be lovely to have you with us for the next 45 minutes or so. Lovely to have your questions, so any questions you want to ask, send them through, and for the rest of you, of course, once the school drive is finished, hashtag questions at WildEarthTV is the best way to get hold of you. Us, not you. My name is James Hendry. On camera today, making his debut, is Rian. That's Rian's, diving fingers, I suppose. And then on the other vehicle, Taylor McCurdy is driving around with Brian the Thumb Joubert, and Brent Leo Smith finds himself walking around. Now, we're going to keep moving, and the reason we're going to keep moving is that I'm a little worried of this weather. We're not going to be going too far from home. Ooh, in fact, there's a bird up there. Rian, can you see it? It's on the right-hand side. Well spotted. That is a lesser spotted eagle, everyone. How on earth do I know it's a lesser spotted eagle, you're asking yourself, when all I can see is its head? The answer is that I actually saw it fly up there. And I didn't see where it had landed, but I did see it fly, and it's got a very distinctive pattern on its legs there, and that makes it easy to identify. Now, he's probably about almost 2 feet long, and what he likes to eat, everyone, is termites. Yes, that's what I said. Termites. So he's been looking at the ground. In fact, we saw him fly off the ground, and he's been trying to get hold of some termites on the ground. Because termites, although you and I would think, ugh, that's disgusting to eat, they're actually pretty good to eat. They taste a little bit like peanut butter. And who doesn't like peanut butter? Isn't he nice? He's a very cool little eagle. Not the biggest that we get here. The biggest we get is called a Marshall eagle, and he's almost 3 feet tall. And that, everyone, is the lesser spotted eagle. All right, let's carry on and see what else we can see. We've got some other birds. You know, we've come down here to try and find the tracks of a leopard, because there were 2 little leopards around here 2 days ago, but we might not be lucky. Anyway, Brent Leo Smith is about to have his bottom bitten.
As you can see, the wind is rolling in. There's an incredibly strong wind, and we're in big debate about whether it's going to rain or not. My name is Brent. I've got the incredible Vim on camera with me today. Now, I was really hoping to do some butterflies. I even brought my butterfly checklist. I bought a pen, and then the wind came, and we have seen a few butterflies, but the moment they take off, they are swept away by this gusting wind. We will try, but I think we might have to hold on to that. So this is quite nice. It's a little checklist of the common butterflies of the Leopard and Kruger region, and hopefully this summer season we're going to be able to work through and maybe even, dare I say, fill. I doubt we'll fill it, but we're going to do our best to work through the butterflies, see how many we can get on camera. Last year, so as we go along. Of course, we have Herbie wandering on the peripheries, making sure we are safe. And of course, bushwalk in weather like this is a bit of a different game. You definitely have to be a lot more focused, and you have to pay a lot more attention. Before I get blown off the termitaria, let us continue. Now, we do get questions like this from time to time, and this one is from Eli, who says, are we actually live? Welcome to Far this time. Send me more questions. I'd love to hear from you again, Eli. We are 100% live, and I'm in the middle of the African bush in a wonderful area called the Sabi Sands Game Reserve, which is part of the Greater Kruger National Park. 8.5 million acres of unfenced wilderness that's there for all the animals. And of course, we're animals as well, so it's there for us, so we can enjoy our time with these incredible creatures. Now, before we disappear, before it gets blown away by the wind, here we go, our first butterfly on the list. It is feeding on a large devil thorn, a very brave butterfly facing this blustering wind, and that will be our first tick on our list as we go through. It is indeed one we have seen many times before, but it is still a wonderfully beautiful little butterfly. It is called a broad-banded grass yellow. I do like butterflies, and the amazing thing is, because we only get to see some of these butterflies over the summer months, we can get a bit rusty. So there we go. Broad-banded grass yellow, white box for ticking. Tick! Number 1. I'm impressed. I've been feisty wind, but now let me send you back on board with James Henry, who's got one of our smallest antelope species.
Indeed, not only just one of our smaller, but the smallest antelope that we have here. That's a little male, and he's called a steenbok. Ooh, and you can see he's quite nervous. And he only stands about 1.5 feet tall at the shoulder, so he's not very tall at all. And of course the reason he's so nervous, everybody, is, well, because he's so very small. Just like you, I suppose. You might also be quite nervous if you were so small in a place full of predators. Hello, Emerson. What a very good question from you. You say, how are we able to identify animals so easily? Well, Emerson, it's the same reason that when you first started at school, you didn't know the name of anyone in your class, did you? And you struggled perhaps to recognize them. But after 1 or 2 weeks, you knew everyone's name. You probably knew who had brothers and who had sisters, and you know where everyone lived. And that's just because you had spent time around those people. Now it's the same thing with us out here. We've spent time around all these animals and all these trees and all these birds, and that makes it easy for us to understand what they are. But it's only through time and through practice that these sorts of things are able to be done. So in the same way that you recognize all the people in your classroom, so it is that we recognize the animals and the birds and the trees that are out here. It's a good question, that, because I know that this can look very, very similar. Hello, John. I'm going to answer 2 questions, even though you've only asked me 1. You said, what is the strongest deer in Africa? John, there are no deer in Africa. That was not a deer. That was an antelope. An antelope is different from a deer. Remember, I'm sure that you realize now, especially with Christmas coming up, that deer have antlers, and antlers fall off every year, and then they get grown back again by the big males. Now these are horns. Those antelope have got horns. Horns, much like a cow's, don't fall off at all. And so it's very different, and that's the major difference between a deer and an antelope. We don't get deer in Africa at all. But the strongest antelope we have, or the biggest antelope we have, is something called an eland. An eland. And an eland is about, well, it weighs probably close on 1,000 pounds. So very, very big indeed. Then of course we have a buffalo, and our buffalo weigh about 2,000 pounds. So they're enormous animals, very strong indeed. But strictly speaking, we don't get any kinds of deer here at all in Africa. Now Emily, you've asking a very good question, and it's because we are looking perhaps for those very animals. You say, what are the predators of the antelope? Well, out here we've got lions sometimes, we've got leopards and cheetahs and wild dogs and hyenas, spotted hyenas. Those are the animals that are most likely to be the ones that eat the antelope and try and catch them. And that's what we're trying to do right now. We're trying to see if we can't find some leopards, because there were some young leopards seen around here just a few days ago, and so we're looking to see if they've left some footprints on the ground, or maybe they're sitting up in a tree. So every time we go past a tree, make sure to look in the top of it. And also, not too far from here, we saw a female leopard and a new male, or a male leopard, and they're trying to make new tiny baby leopards. So that's quite exciting. We might have some baby leopards very soon. As I was saying, it's very windy out here. Ooh, look at that big bird up there in the sky. And it's being chased by a much smaller bird. You see that? I'm just trying my binoculars to see what kind of big bird that is. It's an eagle. I think it's what we call a Wahlberg's eagle. And the way I know that is because it's got a thin tail. Isn't that bird brave? That little bird is saying, go away, go away. I don't want you anywhere near where I live, because you'll probably try and kill my babies. And that's why that's going on there. Isn't that cool? That's very cool. Okay, let's carry on from here. Right, now my friend Taylor has got some special kinds of sort of ducks, and they look like they come from North Africa.
We are looking at a pair of Egyptian geese as one of them grazes, and it seems as though the other one is keeping a close eye on us this afternoon. Isn't that lovely? Beautifully done up, makeup on. One of the few birds that look like they've got a bit of makeup around their face. It's not really makeup, of course, it's just beautiful markings. And then, of course, the other one that I quite like is the red-backed shrike with the black stripe going right over their eye, or their eyes, because I suppose it goes over both of them. Aren't these lovely birds? Now, I'm sure you're probably wondering who I am. I suppose I better very quickly introduce myself. So, my name is, of course, Taylor, and on camera with me, we've got Brian, but I've got to introduce you to his very special friend. Can you see that? A lovely thumb. What is the thumb today?
Just a face.
Just a face. Just a face thumb this afternoon. That's all right. Hello. Okay. Well, so I believe, Michaela, you're wondering, how much do we feed our animals every day? I've got something to tell you. We're so lucky. They're all completely wild. So, oh, animals do we see? Sorry, Louise. I was just introducing myself. I got that completely wrong. Not how many do we feed, how many do we see? Well, at the moment, unfortunately, it's been a little bit quiet out in the bush. Sometimes this happens when you have lots of rain, and that, of course, brings a lot of different types of food around. So the animals all move away, and they go to different areas. They don't have to move around in big groups looking for food. It's everywhere at the moment, which is really, really nice. So it depends. It's been a bit slow, only a couple of mammals, but sometimes we get to see leopards, lions, cheetah, all the different types of birds, mongoose, and all sorts of other things, and lots of antelope like impala and kudu. So some days you can see 20 different animals, some days you can see 50 different animals, and on a very quiet day, sometimes you can only see 5 or maybe even nothing. That sometimes happens too, but that's the way that it goes. But now we have popped onto an area called Arathusa, And well, oh, what's happening down here? Can you see that, Brian? These three little birds. It looks like that is a sandpiper. It looks like a wood sandpiper on the left. And then you can see that there's another bird on the right-hand side of your screen. That is a three-banded plover. And there was another one as well. And I think the pair of the three-banded plovers were actually chasing the sandpiper away. Look at it. Look. Oh! See, saying, no, this is my area. Oh, my goodness. You are very feisty for such a small bird. That bird is probably the size of your fist. If you curl it up into a ball, you bring all your fingers close together. That is how big that bird is. It is tiny. It's really small. And that sandpiper is probably double that size. Oh, it's going again. Now watch this sandpiper try and make a move. Oh no! Off it goes, being chased away. And that's most likely the male, the plover that's chasing the sandpiper around. Look how fast he goes. Colin, I'll answer your question in just a moment. That poor little bird is also just trying to have its share at this beautiful big watering hole at Red Dam. And it's not getting up. It's quite persistent, eh, Brian? Naughty little birds. And this is quite typical. Possibly they're competing for the same food source, but I suspect that sandpiper will be all right now that it, of course, has moved to the other end of the dam. It's given that feisty three-banded plover a gap. Right, so like I said, we're on Arathusa. We're going to go and see if the lions have perhaps popped across. Now, Colin, you were wondering if we see any migrating birds because we're so lucky to have such a nice temperature here. You're quite correct. We see a variety of different birds. Let me just turn the Game Drive radio down very quickly. And some of them that come all the way from Russia, for example, the steppe buzzard or the stepped eagle, they come all the way from Russia and come down here for our summer. And then a lot of birds, what happens to them in South Africa is they come to South Africa in our summer months and they sort of move from the northern sectors in Africa. And the reason why they come down here is because in North Africa it gets terribly hot and it's almost unbearable at times. So I think it's a lot more pleasant for them to come down this way and breed down here. Though we get a couple of birds, some of the bee eaters and things, that not all of them breed down here. They just come, they're just sort of visitors and just come around, maybe a change of diet and all those types of things. But we see lots and lots of different birds. We might even see some of those birds today, Colin. So we'll keep an eye out and hopefully we will show you. Now, I'm so sorry, my comms are not fantastic in being able to communicate, but I think Louise says that we're going to shoot on back across to Brent and see what he's up to.
What are you starting on? Now, VM and I have found something fascinating. It's a reptile egg. Now, I'm not sure whether it's a snake or possibly a plated lizard. I'm leaning towards snake. Now, I've been debating with myself, are we going to open it or are we going to keep it intact? But my curiosity has got the better of me. So we're going to try very delicately open it because I can hear something inside. So I'm really fascinated to see. We might possibly have a perfect little skeleton in this unopened egg, and I'd love to know what it is. So I'm going to try very delicately just saw the top off. Oh! It's very brittle. Now I can't see whether it's a snake. What is it? What are you? Bones, come out! Oh, let's have a look. There we go. I'm going to try to get them out now. And Xavier, indeed we do have lots of snakes. Xavier was wondering whether we get any snakes in South Africa. We have a lot of different species, including the black mamba. Vim's going to shine a torch in there. Can you see what it is, Vim?
I'll just tilt it down a bit. Can't really see.
Can't really see. This is so fascinating. Now we're trying to see whether it's a little snake. Of course, it might not have formed at all just yet. I'm going to be very careful now. Okay. time to use another tool. I can't really see what it is. Oh, this is so delicate. I don't want to break it. Oh, I couldn't imagine what a stress a doctor must go through if I'm feeling this, just trying to remove a tiny little artifact. Oh no, I can't grip it. It keeps falling down. Hello, Strawbridge third graders. They'd like to know if any dangerous animals ever come very close to people. And they do. I think I've nearly got it now. Oh, I'm trying to see if there's a head or something, and I just don't want to break it. Whatever is in here. Come on. Oh yeah, this is turning into quite the palaver. Come on, concentrate now. So this is really old. I mean, there's no smell. It's a very earthy smell almost. And I think whatever's left has become almost like soil. So every time I try and grab it, it disintegrates a little bit. See, that's all I'm getting is like powdered bone in here. I just want to see if there's a head on it. Okay. See what I mean? It's become sort of just like powdered bone, whatever it is. I mean, there's no smell on it whatsoever. Let's see if we can get any more out. Oh dear. Deary, deary me. This is such a mystery. Now, what's probably happened is this is a dead egg, so it wasn't fertilized, and I don't think it even started forming into whatever adult thing it was going to become. And I think it's just what we're dealing with here is, ooh, thunder in the background. There we go. Yeah, see, I mean, ooh, it hasn't, I think it has, oh dear, no, come back. I mean, I can't see any head. I don't think it's formed into anything, but just based on the shape of the shell, I think it was a snake that never came to be. Poor little snakey. Well, let's put that back in. I'm going to take this back for our collection of stuff in our tent. Let's put it over there for now. Hi, Jonathan. Jonathan is wondering if we get pythons here and how big do they get. Well, Jonathan, we do. The biggest python I've seen in South Africa is 6 meters long, and that is about, I'm going to just step it out for you. So let's pretend that is the head. I'm going to guess, and I'm going to walk towards you to show you how big it is. What do you reckon? I think that's probably about 6 meters, maybe. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's how long they are. Isn't that absolutely massive? And they can weigh more than that. Sorry, I'm trying to do my conversion. Probably around 300 to 350 pounds. A really big python like that. It is incredible how large they are. Now, while we've been sitting here dissecting our egg, we have been watched by a herd of impala. Isn't that wonderful? The most numerous antelope south of the Sahara. And not only are there impala out here, if we go that way now, we can see a lovely little herd of zebra. Now I've got a question for you guys out there. Are zebra black with white stripes or white with black stripes? What do you think? Are zebra black with white stripes or white with black stripes? Why don't you let me know, and I'll tell you the answer a little later. Okay, we're going to keep on moving from here, but we've taken the pack off so we could get nice and close while I was trying to delicately open that snake egg. So VM's got to pop it back on his back, and then we're going to carry on walking. I'm hoping we're going to find some more amazing things while we're here. And wait, my Herbie has pointed to something. What have you seen, Herb? Underneath that, Herb has got a surprise. There's something underneath, and it's going to bite me, Herbie. I don't know what it is. So. Where's it gone? What is there, Herb? I don't know what it is. This is a cryptic game. Or maybe it's escaped. But Herbie's found something. We're not sure what it is. Is it going to bite me if I put my fingers there? Yes, it's going to bite me, which probably means it's a scorpion or a centipede or some other nasty. Okay, let's just be careful. I think it's just run away, Herbie. It escaped us. But anyway, we're gonna keep moving. Hopefully this fearful creature has not crawled up VM's pants while we've been down here. So while we do that, we're gonna go across to James, who's driving around.
I'm not driving around. I've stopped everyone, and there is a very special animal called a vervet monkey. And those are tiny little baby vervet monkeys that are playing with a big female monkey, a big mother monkey. And the interesting thing about what we're seeing here, you know, is that we saw them being chased across the road by an impala. Now that's a very strange thing for an impala to be doing, of course. But I think that what was happening is that the female impala was running away from a male who was being very nasty to her, and that just made the monkeys run. So that's what's going on there. And they're sitting in a tree that you wouldn't want to sit in at all. It's full of nasty thorns, vicious thorns. And monkeys are just much tougher than we are, you know, so that they can sit in those thorns and they don't have to worry too much about it at all. They're absolutely fine. Anyway, that is the vervet monkey. Now remember, it's not a velvet monkey, it's a vervet monkey. Well, there we are, John. You were asking a question about what kind of animal is an omnivore. Well, the monkeys are omnivores to a certain extent. I'm just going to turn the car slightly. But a better example of an omnivore, I suppose, would be a baboon. Now, a baboon is like a monkey, just much bigger. And they're jumping into the tree just over there and having a bit of a play fight. There we go. That's it. And then the other obvious omnivore, John, is something called a bush pig. It's like a sort of wild pig, and they like to eat meat and vegetables and fruit, a bit like you. Monkeys eat a little bit of meat, so largely these monkeys here will eat insects for meat. They'll eat the odd reptile if they can get it. They can eat eggs, and they will also eat lots of fruit and sometimes flowers and sometimes leaves, and so they eat lots of different kinds of things. See, it's just jumped into that tree that's so full of thorns, you and I wouldn't even touch that tree, you know. Look at the big female at the top there, just scratching herself, just like you think you've seen monkeys do, I suppose, in some cartoons. There's another one coming now from the right-hand side, about to jump onto the tree. There it is. Now he's sitting on a tree that doesn't have any thorns on it, so that's nice. Right over here, close by, there's another monkey. You see it there? There we go. Now, this tells us something very important. The fact that the monkey is not scared to come onto the ground tells me that it's quite possible that there are no leopards around here, because monkeys will not go on the ground if they think they're going to be eaten. They like the safety of the trees. Hello, Silas. You say, what does that monkey do? Well, Silas, it just lives basically out here. It doesn't have a job. It doesn't have to go to school. It doesn't have to do the chores around the house. All it has to do all day long, and the same goes for every single other animal out here, is make friends, eat, or try and find enough food to eat, and then go to sleep. And, of course, not be eaten. It's very important because monkeys, of course, can be eaten by very big eagles. They can be eaten by leopards and lions. And they can also, of course, be eaten by very big snakes like pythons. So their job, basically, Silas, is to stay alive. And they do that by finding enough food to eat, which is not always very easy, by watching out for predators, by finding some water, and then making friends. In monkey society, a bit like our own human society, making friends is a very important part of what they do. Because if you live in a group, well, as you well know from your playing on the playground, it's not so nice when you don't have any friends. And so it's important that a monkey makes friends. And sometimes just like us, when you've made a mistake and maybe your friends are a bit cross with you, a bit angry with you, it's exactly the same thing as when your friends are a little bit angry with you. That happens in a monkey troop. And sometimes they get a little bit cross with each other. And so it really is very similar to how we as human beings act. Isn't that a nice picture there of a monkey? You can see just like a human being. It's sitting there, scratching his foot like you might. Now, a very good question from Strawbridge Elementary School, all of you there, saying, what kind of adaptations does a monkey have in order to avoid getting injured by the thorns? Well, it's nothing really specific. They have got very tough hands in the same way that if you are a human being who works a lot with your hands, let's say that you lay bricks or you chop wood with an axe, you're going to get very hard what we call calluses on the hand. And that means that your skin will become very tough. And it's basically the same thing. So they don't really have anything particularly special. They've just got very, very tough hands and feet. Now look at that, isn't that wonderful? That's an older monkey helping a younger monkey take the ticks off the body, because there'll be lots of different kinds of ticks, and a tick is a little invertebrate that lives on the fur. Is he eating them off? You all know what a tick is. In the United States, a tick is something that causes Lyme's disease. And there's a similar sort of thing here. So that's what they're being careful of doing with each other. And the reason they do that is to stop each other getting sick, and so that they are friendly with each other. So often you'll find that animals who've had a bit of a fight, like I was describing earlier, often you'll find that they will start to groom each other in order to say, I'm sorry, and then somebody else says, oh, I'm sorry too, let's not fight, and then they're all friends again. Now, we had a very good question coming through, but I'm afraid I've forgotten what it was, so I'm going to ask for it again. Oh, yes. How do monkeys protect themselves? And that's from Griffin. Griffin, they protect themselves by staying in the trees. Look at that tiny little monkey. That monkey can't be more than maybe a month old. Isn't that cute? Griffin, they protect themselves by being very fast. And they live in groups, and all the time that there is one monkey on the ground, or there are a whole lot feeding on the ground, then others will be sitting up very high in the trees looking for predators, and then they make a noise. That's the noise they make when they see a predator, and that helps them to defend themselves against predators. So it's mainly, it's a bit like us when we live out here. We're not very strong compared to the animals out here. We have to use our brains to defend ourselves. So we'll climb into clever places, or we'll see tracks on the ground and avoid certain areas. That's very similar when you happen to be a monkey. Very nice sighting this of monkeys. We don't often see them this nicely. We'll just have one last look at them, and then we'll carry on and move, because they've made a nice group up there in the middle of the tree on the right hand side. There we go. And I know there are lots of sticks and trees in the way, but that's also another way that they protect themselves, by staying in pretty thick areas. So there's no leopard that's going to get up there and manage to catch one of them. Alright, let's have one last look at the babies on the left, and then we'll carry on and see what else we can see. There we go. Look at those little ones there. They're only, you know, they're very, very small. They're not even a foot long. And look, they're two friends. They're two young friends. And now one of them's a little bit worried because its mum's gone across to the other tree. Now that's definitely not the mother. That's an older, probably a brother or a cousin. And see, the little one nearly fell off? See how strong they are? Look, a whole big group of monkeys together. And they're staying warm like that, you see. It's quite chilly suddenly. The wind's blowing very strongly. And because it's blowing through some fairly sort of moisture-laden or very wet clouds, probably some rain further down south, the wind's quite cold. And so those monkeys are staying together to try and stay warm. Alrighty, let's carry on and see what else we can find. That was a very nice sighting. We're very lucky to have seen all of those. Monkeys are not very common out here. Alright, let's go and find out from Taylor. You met the Egyptian geese with her. Let's go and find out what the next treat she has in store for you is.
We're watching a couple of impala dash across the road. Let's see if any of them give us a bit of a jump. And that's what they are renowned for, these incredible antelope, is the fact that they are able to leap huge distances at a full sprint. But it seems as though they didn't feel threatened, and they didn't feel the need to bound about this afternoon. But we've got a couple of male impala here. You can see that because they've got the beautiful big horns on top of their heads, of course. The females don't have any horns. Doesn't look like there's any younger boys. We're starting to see the young impala rams from the previous season all being chased out of the breeding herds now and sort of pushed on to join these bachelor groups where they'll live out the next few years learning how to battle with their horns, eating lots and lots and getting nice and fit, and eventually and potentially, when they're big and strong enough and able to take out the dominant males, will be able to join a herd of their very own. But they are very, very wary this afternoon with all the wind that we're having. Look at them all disappearing very, very quickly. Wow. Now, the impala are wonderful, but it seems as though Brent has got something more exciting than this. Let's jump across on foot and see what he's got.
Okay guys, I'm just trying to get it out. Now I've got to be very careful. Out of all our scorpions here, we've got two that are medically important in terms of danger, and this scorpion is one of them. It's called Europlectes olivaceus. I can't remember its English name offhand. Now there were two of them here, and the one female has got she's carrying all her babies. Now she's just gone under this log. Gotta be careful, could be another one, there could be more. Where's that other one gone? There he is. So there's another one there. Or it could be even a third one. Oh, he's gone under the bronc. Okay, now I've lost sight, that's not ever a good thing, of the female. Oh no, there she is. Watch out on the fall, oops. Okay, now the female has burrowed into this little bit of grass here, and she's trying to hide. I really don't want to get stung by this particular species of scorpion. But this is just an amazing thing. It's not something you get to see too often. So I really want to show you her, but I also don't want to hurt her or disturb her. Where's she gone now? Ooh. Okay, there she is. Come from the side here, Vim. Look at that. It's a mother scorpion carrying all her babies. Oh, that thing. Oh, jump, Brent, jump. As I said, that sting is incredibly painful, and it is one of the scorpion species that certain people do have allergic reactions to the venom. Is she attacking the termite? She is. She's just stung a termite, and it's in her pincers. Wow! Look, she's let it go now. I think it was a soldier termite who annoyed her. Now, oh, she's fine, going for cover. Okay, I'm not going to do too much more, or for too much longer, just a little bit. There she is. Oh! And a massive red Roman, or Solifugae. Now, he hunts scorpions, but he doesn't like being out during the day. As you can see, incredibly quick. Okay, so here she is. This is absolutely incredible. This is not something you get to see every day. That all the babies on her back. There we go, look at that. Isn't that absolutely amazing? Europlectes olivaceus, an incredibly potent sting. I think it's an 8 out of 10 on the pain scale. She's defending her babies, keeping them on her back. Okay, shame. We're going to put a... Whoa. I'm just going to put some cover over her so she feels safe. She should stop moving, and it's the same piece of cover she was hiding under earlier. But that was amazing. Now that is not something you see every day. I'm going to do a little dance. That was so fun. Herbie thankfully found that scorpion for us. There were 2 of them under that piece of bark. You can see she's now stopped running. She's staying under there. She feels safe. Now she'll only normally come out at night to start hunting. Wow. Hello, Three Oaks. Three Oaks would like to know, are all scorpions poisonous? No scorpions are poisonous. They are venomous. So poison, you have to ingest, so you have to eat it. Venom is injected. So a bee is venomous, a scorpion is venomous, a snake is venomous. Now all species of scorpion are venomous. They all have the ability to inject venom into you, but there are lots of different types of venom and obviously grades of venom. Now this is the second most potent venom of all the scorpions we get here. There's only one scorpion that is more powerful, and that is much bigger. It's called a Parabethus. And its tail can get to the size of my thumb, and their bodies can get to the size of my hand. And they're actually one of the few scorpion species that is able to spray venom as well if something's attacking it. Now, let's have a look. We don't want to disturb the mom with the babies, but there was another one here on this log. I don't know where it's gone. You gotta always be very careful, of course. Now, if you've got scorpions where you live, I would recommend not picking them up. Now, Three Oaks were wondering why the scorpion was after the termites. Now, the reason it was probably after the termites is because there were soldier termites there, and they might pose a threat to her babies. I don't know where the other one's gone. I said you got to be very careful. And there we go. All the deadly things are here today. Vim has spotted a violin spider in that crack. Oh yes, there we go. Look at that. Now this is also one of the most venomous spiders we get out here. It's called a violin spider. It has cytotoxic venom, which what means is it is cell destroying venom, and it will make basically your skin cells just die around there. So it causes big holes if you ever get bitten. It's very rare to get bitten. They're actually quite shy spiders, and they generally prefer to avoid conflict with human beings. Now you got to be very careful, because it looks very similar to the absolute harmless daddy longlegs. Now, another interesting question from Strawbridge Elementary about venom. Are there many venomous spiders? All true spiders are venomous. So even a daddy longlegs, even though it's harmless, its mouth can't open wide enough to bite you. But all true spiders have venom in their fangs, and it helps with their digestive process and with obviously killing what they catch. Now, that big red thing that we saw scuttle off there, that is called a sun spider or a red Roman, is an arachnid, so it's part of the same family as spiders, but it is not a spider. It is a solifuge. It's their own family, and they have massive mandibles, and they're able to bite things to death, but they've got no venom no venom glands, and they're unable to produce venom. So that is why it is not a spider. It's a solifuge. What have you spotted, Herb? Oh, funny looking little bug. Oh, it's a mantid. A beautiful, beautiful prey mantis. And you can see the camouflage it's got for hiding amongst dead wood. Very cool. Hey, little guy. See, there he is right there. I'm just going to move the... Oh, where'd he go? There he is. See him running along the ground there. Now, that looks to be a female mantid because of her large, thickened abdomen or bottom section. Now, you really want to be a lady prey mantis, and that's because you definitely don't want to be a boy prey mantis, because when they'll finish making the next generation of prey mantises, the female will eat the male. Now, there's a very important reason for that. What happens is the male sacrifices himself. The male sacrifices himself so the female gets enough nutrients to be able to successfully lay her eggs. Now, we've had such a wonderful time around one of my favorite dead trees on Djuma. It's got scorpions, prey mantises, solifuge, and we're going to keep moving on, seeing what else we can find. Now, James is with some of the latest additions to the Djuma family down next to the Mawati River. Let's go have a look.
Well, there you are, everybody. There, just underneath that big, big, sharp, hardy-dar's beak, is a little baby. Isn't that sweet? There are 3 of them in this nest, and their mum's just trying to keep them very warm as the wind blows. And look at that nest. Aren't you glad that when you go home this evening, you're going to have a soft bed to lie in? Well, if you're a hardy-dar, you don't get a soft bed to lie in. All you get is that very spiky pile of sticks to sleep in. I wouldn't like to be a hardy-dar baby. Some birds build lovely nests that are lined with feathers and soft, silky spider web and sometimes some leaves. Not the hardy-dar, and most of the eagles, they have got a very sort of spiky nest of sticks and twigs with thorns in it. I guess that helps them to leave home a little bit earlier. All right, chaps, from Glenwood, Three Oaks, Strawbridge and Salem Elementary Schools, that's going to be it from us today. We're going to carry on our safari. You're going to carry on your school day. I hope you have a good day at school there today, and that you will be back on safari with us very soon. And I think that's the end of the school drive. Now, Brent is still with the scorpion and the babies, and I think that's something definitely worth going to have another look for. We're going to keep looking for tracks of the leopards along here. Haven't found anything as yet, but we'll keep you posted. Let's go back to the baby scorpions.
That female scorpion came out on the hunt, stung a termite and then ate it. Now I'm just trying to hope she moves through again. So she's all of a sudden come out and started hunting. She's going underneath this log though. And I said I don't want to disturb her because come around, Vim. She's on the move, she's on the hunt. She's about to disappear now. So she caught and stung a termite and then ate it. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, keeping all those babies safe on her back. And that's a very, very big olivaceous. I still can't remember what its common name is. I'm going to have to scratch my brain. Maybe James or Taylor can remember what its English name is. But I think we're going to leave her be. I might definitely come back and check this area again on Bushwalk at some point to see what we can find. Now, we found all those scorpions and stuff because we came, as I said, to one of my favorite dead trees on Djuma. Now, in December last year, there were these awesome elephant bulls that were hanging around quarantine when this tree fell over, and it caused a lot of fun for us and for the Eddies because they just fed on it. Now, they did not push it over. This tree's too big for them to push over, but what's happened, as you can see here, there's bark, and what happened, and they didn't debark the whole tree. They just debarked the side, and what that did was give access to the wood borers. The longhorn family and click beetle family are all wood boring beetles, and there you can see these massive wood borers have now gone in, and they basically ate the section that was exposed by the elephants. And what that did was then compromise the strength of the tree. So even this tree was alive when it fell down, even though there was only a very narrow bit of bark that was bringing nutrients. And you can see, when I mean it compromised the strength, it basically turned the hard part of the tree into a honeycomb, basically. So it lost all its structural integrity, and then a strong wind pushed it over. Now, if you look carefully in these things here, now let me see. Okay, yes, we can see all this here. Now, this is actually wood borer larvae excrement, so it's almost like cement, but this is basically all the wood that's been chewed by them and then defecated out, and they actually use it to plug their holes to try stop predators like birds and stuff getting access to them. Now, this particular these really big holes, like the one we showed you earlier, belong to the giant longhorn beetle. And as Herbie knows, I got taught by a great man, a great tracker by the name of Renia Simhlongo, who told me these things were the business. And they're basically big, as thick as my thumb, about long, big white grubs, but they taste like bacon. They are delicious. You fry them a little bit, they are so good, but I think quite a few people struggle to eat them because they do taste like bacon, but they have the consistency of snot. So when you bite into them, but it's very good tasting. It's like liquefied bacon. Okay, moving on from our wonderful dead marula tree. We're going to keep cruising across quarantine. Hopefully we're going to find some more amazing stuff while we do that. Taylor is with some more new additions to the Djuma family, but will they last out the year? We're going to have to wait and see.
We've stumbled across a herd of impala that surprisingly, well, I was just about to say that wasn't running away from us, but it seems as though they have changed their minds this afternoon. You can see them darting across your screen. It was quite a big herd too, but we need to reverse anyway. And the reason for that is because Brian and I spotted some vultures flying up from the distance. So I'd like to go back to where we saw them coming from and see what we can find. And I think we'll get a nice view of these impala as well. So we'll try and have another look. Going to reverse. Now, it's as much as Brian and I are appreciating the wind. See, there's another vulture going. Now, I know it's going to be difficult for you to see because it's gone into the distance, but they're all flying around with massive crops. They're all nice and full. So I wonder what they've been feeding on. Let's go and have a look. What do you think, Brian? We're uncertain. It could be a number of different things. It could be something that's died of natural causes, and perhaps the vultures stumbled across it. Maybe something has killed something. I don't know, but we'll have to go and have a look. But before we do that, hello guys. Oh, don't run away. Please don't run away. And they're running away. Oh, but those lambs are so precious. They are so tiny, and it is so funny to watch them when they get a burst of energy and they sort of go racing away. And also the little sounds that they let off constantly. Keep communicating with their moms and, well, the other little youngsters. And it's nice to see them as they're growing up. They're sort of getting a little bit of independence now. They're not just sticking to the sides of their mother. Ooh, did you hear that? There is some thunder rumbling. It might be a little bit too far in the distance. Sorry, so as I was saying, what we're going to start to see now, and I've seen it a couple of times, not too often though, is where you get the little ones all joining up and almost forming a creche, like a little play school, where they're being watched closely by one female, and the little ones all get an opportunity to play around. And of course they're able to do that with the protection of this beautiful big male impala that we are looking at. He must be very, very proud. Whether he was the one that mated with all the females, I'm not sure. Not very brave though, in this weather with all the wind. And I don't blame them. Imagine if you were stranded out in an area. Well, I shouldn't say stranded because they wouldn't know where else they could be. But in the middle of Africa, you know that there are all sorts of predators out here that are constantly looking for something to eat. And all of a sudden you've got this gusting wind and you can't hear anything now, which is the sense that you rely on most. And of course your eyesight, and that's all you're relying on. Imagine how frightening that must be. We're going to head on over to where we saw these vultures flying from, and hopefully we'll be able to reveal something. I'm not sure, but we'll go and investigate. But let's go back across to Brent and see what else, well, something else he's got for you. Maybe something interesting.
Well, it seems to be all about the scorpions today. Now, here we go, is a very, very active, probably a shining burrowing scorpion's hole, or now a Opisthothalamus glabrifons for those who like the Latin. Now this one has been feasting as well. Can you see the wings inside of him? Let me just do this. You can tell what he's been eating, one of his favorite foods. There we go. They are the wings of a termite alate, a future king or queen. Let's take them out a bit more. I'm just worried the wind will blow them. There we go. So this is a very active hole, and the reason you can see this, you can see the different coloured dirt here all around. So he's been spring cleaning, kicking out all this dirt. You can see it's a darker colour. It was probably because of the rain, washed a bit down there. Now this is the lucky one, and the reason I say this is the lucky one is because I look over here and I go, oh dear, what happened here? Someone was after a scorpion. And I mean, you can see how deep these holes go. So the shiny burrowing scorpion is one of the deepest living scorpions. They can live up to 2 meters down in the ground in the correct soils. But something has dug it up, and I'm not sure whether that whatever dug that up was successful, but he didn't go far, or she didn't go far before she had a successful dig. Now I'm going to let you guys try to decide what creature it was that put an end to the poor Opisthothalamus glabrifons. There we go. That's all that's left of the once proud resident of this hole on quarantine, one pincer. The rest has been snacked on, and I wonder if you know which animal has eaten this poor scorpion? If you know the answer, please send it through on Twitter using the hashtag SafariLive, or send an email, questions at WildEarthTV. Which creature digs up the scorpions and can dig them up from a great depth and eats them? Now, this was during the rain, so you can't see any tracks, but I know who the critter is who's responsible. I think I'm going to keep. That's quite a nice claw. I think I'll add it to my collection. Let us carry on. Oh, David, you are far too fast. It indeed was the honey badger, or the rattle. I know a lot of people's favourite animals. They are incredible little creatures, incredibly strong, incredibly tough, not to be tangled with. They are so tough that the South African military named them their armoured car after them. So the South African military's armoured troop carrier is called a rattle, which is another word for a honey badger. So they are incredible creatures, and we don't see them as often as I would like to see them, but we do see them from time to time. They don't occur in very high densities, and they are quite mobile, but we have been lucky enough to see them a few times. Now, moving on. What else is out here? Now, we're going to keep walking. Taylor has found an animal that we haven't seen too much of recently, so let's go have a look.
We have indeed stumbled across a bizarre scene to see on such a chilly afternoon like we're having today, and of course that's buffalo wallowing in the mud. Well, one is only really committed to wallowing away, as you can see, the one right at the back with all the oxpeckers flying around. And that buffalo has caused quite a stir, because as you can see, it's got a wound on its rump, as that oxpecker reopens that wound to feed on the blood, which is the biggest problem. But luckily they don't really do too much damage. When I say problem, that was the wrong word to really use. I've never really seen a wound get so badly infected, or, sort of not being able to heal because of the oxpeckers. So I think it's more of just an irritation, and that wound just keeps festering for a little bit longer. But they were all fighting over it at just a minute ago, and it seems as though this fellow has won and fended off the others and kept them at bay. Lots of flies hanging around that wound as well. It's just amazing how tough these creatures are, because you see how they wallow in this dirty water. And I always wonder to myself, how on earth do they not die of an infection from something like that? But I suppose that's what makes these animals able to survive out in the wildest areas in Africa, is that you've got to be tough. You've got to be able to survive long, extended periods of drought where there's no food, very little water. And you can see that these gentlemen are slowly recovering. Now we're looking at these buffalo over here, and I don't know, Brian, what do you think? Do you think that buffalo on the right is a female or a male? It's quite hard to tell. It looked like it could be a female, eh? Yes, it looks like a girl just because her horns aren't massive, but it could just be a male with small horns too. It's obviously very difficult to tell as this buffalo is sitting down. It's easier when they stand up. Now, good afternoon, David from Napa. You were wondering who would be the pathfinder in a herd of buffalo. Would it be a male or would it be a female? Well, that's a very interesting question you've asked. And it's actually the females that are the pathfinders. So they get this information passed to them from when they're younger, from their grandmothers, from their mothers, whoever it may be, on all the different routes to use to find the greenest grass at certain times of the year, the dams that are going to be filled with water. And well, for these boys, and well, this one girl is what we think it is at the moment, I don't think they'd really have a pathfinder amongst this small group. I think that they would just sort of be bumbling around and hope to stumble back into another herd of buffalo, and they can join up for safety purposes, of course. But you can really, really see it, and hopefully in the up and coming months we're going to see the masses of buffalo that come through, the 300 and 400 individuals that will come through. then you really get to see the pathfinders at work. Here we go, a couple of oxpeckers jumping around, just hanging on, hungry. They are eating. It's amazing how sometimes they're jumping around, feeding on the various ticks and other ectoparasites, and then occasionally they get a little bit cold and sort of huddle up onto the backs of the buffalo, trying to get their body heat. Let's see if this boy is going to sit down for us. Hello, big boy. Still looking quite thin though. You can see his hips protruding quite a bit, but he should be alright. Looks like he's going to have a seat again. Oh, look how lovely that is. He's going over to just greet his fellow member as well. He's multitasking at the moment, as you can see. This buffalo actually doesn't look very well. Now you can see he's defecating at the moment, and the feces of buffalo is normally quite loose. It's not a sort of thick stool, but you can see that this buffalo has indeed got diarrhea. Now that's not good. When animals get diarrhea, they become dehydrated very, very, very quickly. And now if you look at this buffalo, look at it's definitely a cow now, you can see quite clearly. She's in much better condition. You can't see her hips sticking out. And there's honestly no reason for that male buffalo to look the way he does. There is plenty of grass around, and it's been around for the last few weeks. So he should have recovered. So he's possibly sick. Maybe he's got some internal parasites or something that we don't quite know about. And that is the reason why he is so thin. Now, sorry, Chanel, you asked a question a little bit earlier, and you were wondering, how did the buffalo, always find it amazing how the buffalo is so tolerant of the oxpeckers picking at their wounds. Now, you're quite right in saying that. I also don't know how I would deal, but I must tell you a very quick story. So, when I was down in the Eastern Cape, so that's about the southeast corner of South Africa, on the game reserve that I was working on, the oxpeckers in that area were eradicated because of a poison that they were using on dipping all the domestic cattle to prevent ticks and other various ectoparasites. Anyway, it wiped out the entire population of red-billed oxpeckers. They reintroduced them, but now for I think it was about 30 years or so, they didn't have any oxpeckers in that area. And when the oxpeckers started to spread and their population started to grow, it was amazing to see how the animals were just not used to them. So they would land on the backs of the giraffe, of the buffalo, the impala, and they would all turn into bucking broncos, trying to sort of kick away and get the birds off of their bodies. It was quite hysterical. And over time, in probably a couple of months or so, we could see a difference on how they were sort of getting used to them. So it was quite amazing. So I think, Chanel, it's really just a time of really getting used to the animals pecking away. And like I said, they're quite tough, but if it does hurt a little bit, you will see the buffalo give a bit of a shake, or maybe kick, or you swat its tail to try and chase that bird away if it is, sort of causing a little bit of pain. But most of the time, you see they're quite tolerant of it, and I think it's not too bad. Now, we've got these buffalo, and then we've also got a vulture sitting up on the top of the tree. And remember I said to you earlier that we spotted some vultures flying overhead with very full crops. Now, I can't see for the moment. Looks like he's got a very full crop. You can see a little bit of a bulge there, just after the white feathers on the neck. Now, I'm not sure exactly what these vultures have been feeding on. I suspect it's something in this drainage line that's out of view for us. But we'll keep having a look around here. But while we have a look and hopefully see what these vultures have been feeding on, let's go to James, who has got a steenbok.
Oh no, everybody, we don't have only a steenbok. We have two steenbok, and they seem to be in the stages of a romantic interlude, we might be the very first people in the world to catch steenbok mating live. Yes, that's what I said. Steenbok mating live. They seem absolutely shocked that anyone should want to watch that. I don't really blame them for that, I must confess to you. I do find it slightly voyeuristic that we're so fascinated by animals and their private moments. Anyway, this is fascinating. Let's keep moving. I just want to sneak slightly forward. Oh, no, there they go. That's a pity. Come on. Isn't this fun? I don't know that this has ever been caught on camera. Antelope mating is extremely brief. I've watched impala doing it every so often, and it takes less than 2 seconds for the mating act to actually occur, and I'm pretty sure it would be the same with steenbok. Oh well. There it is. Almost caught, and almost, therefore, I was able to use my very favourite expression, but I can't use it now because, well, they weren't really caught in the act, as it were. Now, let us have a brief discussion, if you don't mind. I know we're not seeing these animals at the moment, but I've been burning with desire to talk about this with all of you. Many of you are loyal viewers. You've been watching a long time, and for those of you who aren't, well, I'll give you a brief background to what's been going on. Karula, the great queen of Djuma, 12 years old, pushing 13 in March, actually, so she's only 3 months shy of her 13th birthday, had some babies, 2 youngsters, on the 2nd of February, Khosana and Shongile, their names, 1 male, 1 female, in that order. And they are now obviously, well, almost 11 months old. And she has been seen mating again with Tingana, the male leopard. Now, that, well, we're all quite surprised. Normally it only happens once the cubs have gone independent. Normally they go independent probably around 14 or 15 months for the female and a little bit later for the male, but they do start to spend extended periods away from the mother from about this time. So that's the background to the story. Now, for those of you who have been watching regularly, you also know that Karula's first daughter, Shadow, has done the same sort of thing, but to the detriment, we think, possibly, of the, I think it's 8 litters of cubs that she has lost. So she's never raised a youngster to independence, as we know. And so last time she had a baby, she was seen mating when the cub was about 10 months old. Well, that was 2 cubs, 2 litters ago. And then this time round, when the cub was only 4 months old, she came into estrus again, or came into heat, and began mating again. And we think, therefore, that she then neglected the baby, and the baby probably died. Now, that is quite possibly a hormonal imbalance, but the big thing to say here, of course, is that a lot of what we say is wild supposition out here, and as Brent likes to say quite often, the animals very seldom read the textbooks that we read, and therefore they are completely against them very often. And so it's important that, of course, when we are proved wrong and we are seen to be talking utter nonsense, that we acknowledge that and move on and come up with a new theory. So I am slightly on the verge of saying maybe I've been wrong about Shadow, because Shadow, of course, has been mating long before her babies have been independent. It's not necessarily the major reason that she's lost them, but it's so interesting that Karula has come into estrus very clearly. It's a proper full estrus, I think, simply because, they've been mating for 2 or 3 days now. That sounds like a proper estrus, not an anestrus. Now, there are various reasons being put forward by Brent for this, because he's the one who's been watching them. One, quite a good reason, I think, maybe she's trying to draw him away from those cubs, and so she's come into a proto or anestrus. I'm not sure about that, simply because, as Brent said yesterday, they have been mating now for 2 or 3 days, so I'm not sure that that's true. But it is also possible that those cubs are going to go independent early. It's not too young for the females, certainly. We know that Hosanna, the male, killed a duiker the other day on his own completely. So they're clearly able to look after themselves. It's going to be fascinating to watch what happens going forward, and I'd love to have your thoughts as to what you think is going on with the Great Queen and Tingana. Well, this is a great question from James. Do I think that her maternal instincts will return once her estrus is over? In other words, although she's carrying a new youngster, if she does fall pregnant this time, and remember, it took her 6 bouts of mating the last time for her to get pregnant. So I doubt it's going to happen straight away, but it might. Do I think that even if she does conceive, she will sort of have a return of her maternal instincts and go back to Hosanna and Shongile? I do actually, yeah. I might be totally wrong, but I do think she will. I think that she will look after them until they become, you know, independent almost of their own accord, which they clearly are doing already. So it's all rather interesting. Ellen, the last time we heard about Crewless cubs, you worried about them, obviously. We were always a little bit worried about them. 2 days ago, we heard of them on Hofmans, which is to the south of our traversing area, and yeah, they were fine. Well, in fact, we don't know about Shongile. Hosanna was there, and he had killed a duiker. He's the one I think we should be more worried about, because the males go independent far less readily than the females. Let's just have a look out over this blustery sort of view. You can see the clouds scudding overhead. Right, Brent Leo Smith would like to talk with me on the Graham Drive channel. So while you look at the view, I will talk to him. And go ahead. Okay, copy, thanks, we're on our way. Apparently something has been caught in the drainage line just below the dam wall at Gowrie. So, the Gowrie dam wall. We're going to head there as fast as we can. Vroom, vroom, vroom. Hold on tight, Rian. Take your dentures out. Put on your seat belt. Now apparently some of you have been surprised, of course, to learn that Hosanna has killed a duiker on his own. I was very surprised myself, and of course, with our rehearsals that we've been having and the TV show, you haven't been watching as regularly as normal. And half the time I don't know whether we've been in rehearsal or in reality, which is, I suppose, the whole point of a rehearsal. But yes, he did kill something on his own. And that was very useful, of course, to him, no doubt, especially given that his mummy seems to be, well, trying to make another family. But like I say, it did take 6 times. She mated with Tingana 6 times before she conceived with Shongile and Hosanna. So, I mean, this could be the first of many such incidents. Right, let's find out. Let's go straight across to Brent. Brent has heard something he thinks being caught in the dam wall, or just below the dam wall. So let's go and find out from him what he heard.
Okay, well, initially I heard some impala alarm calling. It's difficult to hear clearly in the wind. Sorry, not the rain. And then I heard a very weak, like something's just caught a baby impala. The impala were alarming heavily in this area, looking up towards the Djuma Dam. So we're just going to check very carefully. I've called James on the radio, so he can also come give us a hand. But as I said, we've got to be really careful in this wind. So we're going very slowly. Now, it could be a leopard, could be a lion, we don't know. to make sure there's nothing above us. Stranger things have happened. Now, of course, if it is a leopard, we also don't want to disturb it or chase it off. That's why I'm also going very carefully. But this is really exciting. This is how we normally find a lot of our animals. We hear alarm calls, we get off, we track on foot. So imagine this, you doing this with us live. And we all know VM likes a cat or two on his walks or drives. Now, after the rain, it's really difficult to see tracks. Now, I can see the impala. They're looking quite relaxed. So it was only the impala that were close by here that were alarming. I'm also listening for the birds. Maybe the birds might give away if there's a leopard tracking on a baby impala. And it's going to be near impossible to see footprints at the moment. So we are actually just hoping to spot something. Again, this wind, we have to be very careful. Let's see where they're looking. Where they're looking. Now they don't alarm at people. Now there's impala alarming, and they almost look like they're looking at us. I don't know if something is just behind this little bush here. One of the tricks with leopards, if you do spot one, you want to pretend that you're not really looking directly at it, because we don't know which leopard it could be. So the impala were looking straight down into these thickets between us. Is here. There's definitely something here. The impala starting to. Okay, we're right down in the bottom of this little drainage line, and our signal might be a little bit jumpy. So what we're going to do is we're going to send you across to James while we continue to check through this area very carefully and very quietly.
Right, we're not too far now. In fact, we're right in the area where Brent said he heard the noise, and there's a massive herd of impala. They're all looking this way. They look utterly terrified, out of their wits. Why? I'm going to just look around here on the ground. Maybe one of their number has met an end at the teeth and claws of one of those mating leopards. Perfect hunting conditions these for a leopard. Let's go a little bit forward, or any predator for that matter. It's blustery and cold. They're looking into this block here. Let's look up into the trees. They're not alarm calling at the moment, which tells me there. Now they are. Something's in here. They're shouting. They started running. Let's see if there isn't something coming down through this area. There's a game path here. Maybe a leopard. Maybe a lion. Alright, we're going to have to be very patient here. I don't know why those impala were shouting. It did sound like an alarm call, but the males have been chasing the females. But they were definitely looking into this area. Let's just stick our noses in there and see if we don't come up with anything. This is fascinating, very exciting stuff indeed. I wonder also where Brent is, because in a bluster like this, if he was close by, he would have been perfectly able to get the kind of position of the noise of death. But if blustery weather like this, if he was quite far, well, he could easily make a mistake. Right, I don't think she can be far, or he, or whatever it is, can be far from where we are now. This is exactly where the impala were looking. Let's keep going up through here. I'm not seeing anything at the moment. Well, this was obvious, obviously, because I'd be leaping about with joy if we'd managed to find a leopard or a lion. Something dying. Impala do have very good eyes, so I mean, it might not necessarily have been close by that they were looking. So we're on a game path now that heads straight towards the dam. We'll ease our way down through here. There's a steenbok. Look at it. Look at this little guy. He's panicked. Can you see him there, Rian? Just straight through there. Oh, you can't see him. He's just behind the bush there. Anyway, that's him there. We won't hang around there. We'll carry on. He's no doubt absolutely terrified. Please excuse the bumping. This is, of course, Strychnos madagascarensis, possibly the world's most offensive tree.